You ever notice how everything feels perfect? The connection, the chemistry, the long late night talks, and then suddenly he changes, the messages slow down, the energy shifts, and before you even realize it, he's pulling away. You start wondering, did I do something wrong? Did he lose interest? But here's the truth. Most people won't tell you when a man pulls away. It's rarely about you doing something wrong. It's about what's happening inside him. See, men often retreat not because they've stopped caring, but because something triggered a need to reclaim their sense of control. Think of it like this. When things start feeling emotionally intense, he unconsciously steps back to breathe, to process, to make sense of how deep things are getting. It's his version of emotional self-protection. And while you might want to fix it or close the gap, chasing him during this time can actually push him further away. Here's the twist. Most women don't realize your silence has power. When you stop chasing, when you don't fill the silence with questions or over-explaining, you send a message louder than words. I don't need to convince you to stay. That calm confidence shifts the entire dynamic. It changes how he sees you and how he responds to you. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what happens when you do the opposite of what most people expect. When you ignore him after he pulls away, you'll see the stages he goes through, how his emotions evolve, and why this one simple shift can flip the script completely in your favor. So if you've ever felt powerless when he starts to withdraw, stay tuned, because after this you'll never see pulling away the same way again. There's a huge difference between giving someone the silent treatment and creating emotional distance. But most people mix them up, and that's where everything starts to go wrong. When a man pulls away, your reaction determines what happens next. Some people go quiet out of anger or to punish him. That's the silent treatment. It's fueled by resentment, fear, and the desire to control how he feels. Emotional distance, on the other hand, comes from strength. It's calm, intentional, and rooted in self-respect. The silent treatment says, I'm not talking to you until you fix this. Emotional distance says, I'm giving you space while I protect my peace. One is reactive, the other is powerful. When you choose emotional distance, you're not trying to manipulate him into missing you. You're simply detaching from the outcome. You stop overanalyzing every text. You stop trying to decode every shift in his tone. Instead, you shift the focus back to yourself. You invest that energy into your own life, your growth, your confidence. That shift doesn't just change your mindset. It changes the entire energy between you. Men can feel the difference. The silent treatment creates tension. It makes them defensive and pushes them further away because it feels like punishment. But emotional distance sparks curiosity. He starts wondering why you're not reacting, why you're not chasing the connection that once consumed you. That curiosity often becomes the spark that makes him rethink his behavior. When you handle the pullback with quiet confidence, instead of emotional chaos, you're showing him something rare, that your world doesn't revolve around him. You're communicating, without words, I'm not afraid to lose you if it means keeping my peace. And that level of emotional maturity instantly shifts his perception of you from needy to high value. So, when he pulls away, it's not about ignoring him out of spite. It's about maintaining your self-worth while giving him the room to reflect. You're not closing your heart, you're simply stepping back and letting him feel your absence. Because sometimes your silence isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's the moment he realizes what your presence truly meant. And when that happens, he'll feel the difference between losing your attention and losing your connection. And that's when everything starts to change. When a man starts to pull away, your instinct might tell you to close the gap, to reach out, to fix things, to make sure he doesn't slip further. You start texting first, initiating conversations, asking what's wrong, trying to remind him how good things were. It comes from a place of love and fear. Love because you don't want to lose the connection, and fear because the silence feels like rejection. But what really happens when you chase him is something most people never realize until it's too late. The moment you start chasing, you unintentionally reverse the natural polarity in the relationship. Before, he was the one pursuing you, drawn by curiosity and desire. When you start running after him, that balance shifts. He stops feeling the need to move toward you because you've already moved all the way toward him. It's human nature. The more available something becomes, the less urgency we feel to earn it. Instead of feeling loved, he feels pressured. Instead of seeing your effort as care, he perceives it as anxiety. And that's not because he's cruel or emotionally unavailable. It's because when someone feels chased, they feel like they're losing control. He might start pulling away even more, not because he doesn't want you, but because he's trying to restore that sense of space and freedom. What's even more painful is how chasing changes you. It takes you out of your calm, confident energy and throws you into insecurity and overthinking. You start questioning your worth, adjusting your behavior to win him back, and in doing so you disconnect from the version of yourself that attracted him in the first place. That radiant, centered, self-assured energy is what drew him close, and the moment you abandon that to chase him, the attraction begins to fade. Here's the truth: love can't be chased into existence. The more you push, the more he retreats. But when you stop chasing, when you take a step back and let him feel your absence, that's when clarity begins to form in his mind. He starts remembering your value. He starts wondering why your attention no longer revolves around him. And that curiosity, that missing piece, becomes the very thing that pulls him back. Sometimes letting go isn't giving up. It's the only way for him to truly see what he's losing. Ignoring him after he pulls away isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming your emotional balance and changing the dynamic without saying a single word. Silence is not emptiness, it's energy. It communicates boundaries, confidence, and self-respect in a way that words simply can't. When a man feels you step back, not in anger, but in calm indifference, something shifts inside him. He starts to notice the quiet where your attention used to be, and that absence speaks volumes. At first, he might assume your silence is temporary. He may think you're just upset and that you'll eventually reach out. But as time passes and you remain composed, not reacting, not chasing, he begins to feel the gap between you. That's when the power of ignoring him truly takes hold. When he starts realizing that your energy, your presence, your warmth are no longer guaranteed. It's not punishment, it's perspective. Men are often most aware of what they had when it's no longer easily accessible. Your attention was once constant, reassuring, and available. Now it's gone. The contrast between being the center of your world and being met with peaceful silence creates a discomfort that wakes him up. He starts questioning his choices. He wonders if you've moved on, if you've stopped caring, or worse, if someone else now has your attention. That uncertainty triggers his natural instinct to re-establish the connection he once took for granted. But here's the key: ignoring him only works when it comes from authentic detachment. If you're sitting there refreshing his profile, obsessively checking your phone, or secretly hoping he'll reach out, he'll sense that energy, because emotional desperation always leaks through. True power comes from focusing on you. Pour that energy into your passions, your goals, your growth. When you stop orbiting around him and start expanding your own world, you become magnetic again. Not because you're trying to get him back, but because you've refocused your energy inward. Ignoring him gives both of you something valuable: space to feel. He feels the consequences of taking you for granted. You feel what it's like to stand in your power instead of chasing validation. And when he eventually comes back, which he often does, you're no longer operating from fear. You have clarity. You can decide whether he truly deserves another chance, or whether you've outgrown the version of yourself that once settled for less. The power of ignoring him isn't in making him miss you. It's in making you remember who you are without him. It's a silent reset, one that rebuilds your confidence, strengthens your boundaries, and teaches him that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. In that silence, you're not losing control, you're taking it back. And that shift, that calm, confident energy, is what makes him realize that the woman he once thought would always be there might just be the one who walked away for good. When you go silent, something changes inside his mind, and it's not always what you expect. At first, he might feel relieved. The space gives him a sense of freedom, a break from the emotional intensity or expectations he may have felt. He tells himself, she's probably just giving me space, or even she'll reach out soon. But as time passes and you stay quiet, that initial relief slowly turns into curiosity, then confusion, and eventually concern. Men are not always quick to process emotions, especially when it comes to connection and vulnerability. When you stop responding or reaching out, it creates a gap in his routine. He starts noticing the missing pieces. Your texts, your presence, the comfort of knowing you're there. At first he might try to rationalize it, convincing himself that he's fine. But that's when his mind starts replaying memories. Little moments that once felt ordinary but now carry weight. The way you laughed, how you listened, how you made him feel seen. Those things start resurfacing, and he begins to realize how much of his emotional stability was quietly tied to your presence. As your silence continues, he begins to question his assumptions. Did I push her too far? Did she lose interest? Has someone else caught her attention? Those questions plant seeds of uncertainty, and that uncertainty often turns into an emotional pull. He starts to feel a sense of loss, not necessarily because you've left, but because he no longer feels in control. That's the point where the balance shifts. When a woman goes silent with intention and emotional composure, it forces a man to face himself. He has to confront what your presence meant to him, what he took for granted, and what life feels like without your energy in it. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting his actions. It's no longer about blame, it's about realization. And here's the irony. The very space he thought he needed becomes the thing that makes him want to return. He starts missing the peace, the validation, the connection that you brought effortlessly. He begins to understand that silence isn't rejection, it's consequence. It's the quiet reminder that not every woman waits around to be chosen, and that sometimes losing access to your energy is the wake-up call he didn't know he needed. The reverse pull effect is one of the most fascinating and powerful psychological shifts that happens when you stop chasing and start detaching. It's the exact moment when the energy between you and him flips. You go from being the one seeking reassurance, validation, or attention to the one who creates emotional gravity. The reverse pull doesn't come from manipulation or games, it comes from genuine inner strength, from finally realizing that your worth isn't measured by someone else's consistency. Here's how it works. When he first pulls away, he's subconsciously testing the connection. He wants to see how much power he holds, how deeply you're attached, and whether you'll react to his distance. When you chase, you confirm his control. He knows he can withdraw and still have your attention. But when you don't react, when you stay calm, centered, and unbothered, it disrupts his expectations completely. Suddenly, he's the one wondering what's happening. That uncertainty sparks curiosity, and curiosity is the foundation of renewed attraction. The reverse pull begins in that moment of silence, when he starts to feel the absence of your attention. It's quiet, subtle, and gradual. At first, he might try to convince himself that he's fine without you. He might distract himself, talk to others, or stay busy. But underneath that surface, his mind starts to wander. Why hasn't she texted? Did she move on? Was I wrong about her feelings? Those thoughts begin to build emotional tension, and that tension naturally draws him back toward you. See, humans are wired to seek balance. When energy is directed one way, you chasing, him retreating, the dynamic becomes uneven. But when you stop chasing, the scales begin to level out. He feels the imbalance of his own withdrawal. The absence of your effort creates space for his. That's when the reverse pull takes full effect. He begins to initiate contact, check your social media, or subtly test if you're still emotionally available. He's being pulled back in, not by your words, but by the shift in energy. What makes the reverse pull so effective is that it's not about pretending you don't care. It's about actually finding peace in not needing to control the outcome. When your energy stops revolving around him, it returns to you. You glow differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with quiet confidence, and that's magnetic. He feels that shift and starts chasing the very energy he once took for granted. The reverse pull is powerful because it's not a tactic, it's a transformation. It's you moving from anxiety to alignment, from attachment to authenticity. And once he feels that shift, he can sense that the dynamic has changed. He no longer feels like he's being pursued, he feels drawn to you. That's the moment the power returns to you, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. And that energy, it's irresistible. When he starts missing you, it doesn't usually hit him all at once. It comes in waves. At first, he might not even realize what's happening. He's enjoying the quiet, the freedom, the sense of space he thought he needed. Maybe he's convinced himself that he's fine without you. But as the days stretch into weeks and your energy stays withdrawn, something subtle begins to shift inside him. That feeling of ease he had at the beginning starts to fade, replaced by a dull emptiness he can't quite explain. That's the first sign that he's beginning to miss you. It often starts with curiosity. He starts checking your social media, not because he wants to talk, but because he wants to see you, to make sure you're still around. Maybe he scrolls through your photos, replays a video, or revisits old messages. Each small reminder of you brings back the emotions he thought he had under control. He remembers how comfortable it felt to talk to you, how you understood him in ways others didn't. It's not nostalgia yet, it's a quiet longing, the kind that sneaks up when he least expects it. Then the second wave hits, realization. This is where he starts to understand what your silence actually means. It's not a game, it's a message. You've stopped trying, you're no longer waiting, no longer reaching out, and that's when the regret begins to surface. He starts to question himself. Did I push her too far? Did I make her stop caring? The moments he once dismissed suddenly feel precious. He replays the last conversation, searching for the exact point where the connection began to fade. The things that once annoyed him now feel insignificant compared to the peace you brought into his life. As the realization deepens, a third wave comes, emotional pull. This is when he starts to feel the absence of you on a deeper level. Your presence once grounded him, even if he didn't admit it. Your silence now amplifies the noise in his mind. He notices that other conversations feel empty, that no one quite understands him the way you did. That's when missing you becomes a physical ache, a quiet restlessness that follows him everywhere. He might try to suppress it, but it lingers, reminding him of what he lost. Finally, there's the turning point. This is when his pride begins to crack. The man who once needed space now starts to crave connection. He begins to miss not just your attention, but your energy, the laughter, the warmth, the sense of being seen. And when he realizes that your silence might mean he's truly lost you, panic sets in. That's when he reaches out. A message, a like, a sudden "Hey, how have you been?" It's not random. It's the culmination of all those waves of emotion. When he starts missing you, it's not because you ignored him to make him chase you. It's because your silence reminded him of your value. You stopped chasing, and in doing so, he finally saw the space you once filled, and how empty it feels without you there. When he finally reaches out after pulling away, that moment can trigger a flood of emotions. Part of you might feel relief. The silence is over, and he's back. Another part might feel anger or confusion. Why now? Why only after I stopped trying? The key to handling this moment powerfully isn't in what you say right away, but in how you carry yourself. Your response determines whether he's drawn closer or slips back into old patterns. So before you reply, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that his message doesn't mean everything is instantly fixed. It's just the first test for both of you. When a man reaches out after distance, he's not only testing the waters, he's checking your emotional temperature. He wants to see if you're still available, if your energy feels the same, or if you've truly moved on. This is why your first response should come from calm curiosity, not emotional excitement. Don't rush to pour your feelings out or remind him how much you missed him. Keep it light, warm, but composed. A simple, confident reply like, "Hey, it's been a while. How have you been?" speaks volumes. It shows maturity, self-respect, and emotional control, all qualities that reignite attraction. Avoid confronting him immediately with accusations like, "Why did you disappear?" or "So, now you decide to text me." That only pushes him back into defensiveness. If his intentions are genuine, the truth will come out naturally as the conversation unfolds. Your calm energy will make him feel safe enough to open up, and that's when you'll get real clarity. If he's reaching out just for validation, he'll sense that he can't manipulate you emotionally anymore, and he'll fade away on his own. If he's serious about reconnecting, he'll show consistency beyond the first message. Another important part of responding is pacing. Don't rush to meet up or fall back into old routines. Let the dynamic rebuild slowly. The distance that made him miss you also gave you perspective. Don't lose that by giving instant access to your time and attention again. Make him earn his way back through consistency, effort, and respect. That doesn't mean being cold, it means being intentional. What makes your response truly powerful is your energy. He's not just reading your words, he's feeling whether your silence changed you. Are you still the same person who would drop everything for him? Or are you now someone who values herself enough to take things at her own pace? When he senses that quiet confidence, that's when the attraction reignites. He'll feel that he's not in control of the dynamic anymore. You are. When you respond from a place of grounded confidence, you send a message louder than words. You had my attention before. Now you'll have to earn it. That's not pride, that's power. And that's how you turn his return into your moment of choice, not his. Staying calm, confident, and magnetic isn't just about how you respond to him. It's about how you hold your energy no matter what he does. When a man pulls away or reappears, your biggest strength lies in your ability to stay emotionally grounded. Calmness is not weakness, it's mastery. It's the art of remaining centered even when uncertainty tries to shake you. Confidence isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about knowing that you'll be perfectly fine whether he comes back or not. And magnetism, that quiet, irresistible pull, naturally radiates from a woman who has learned to value herself above the outcome. Think about it this way. People are drawn to stability. When your emotions are balanced, your presence feels safe, alluring, and self-assured. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding intentionally. That shift in energy is what makes you magnetic. It's not the words you say, it's the energy behind them. A calm woman who knows her worth doesn't need to chase. She attracts. Her silence feels peaceful, not punishing. Her confidence makes others lean in, not pull away. The secret to staying calm is awareness. You have to recognize your triggers, that urge to text, to explain, to seek reassurance, and pause before acting on them. Ask yourself, is this action coming from fear or from strength? Every time you choose patience over panic, you reinforce your emotional control. That self-restraint builds inner confidence because you start realizing that you are no longer controlled by anxiety or attachment. You're guided by choice. Confidence also comes from clarity. When you know what you want and what you deserve, you stop settling for mixed signals or inconsistent effort. You understand that your value doesn't decrease when someone fails to see it. You don't need to prove your worth. You simply embody it. That self-assurance is magnetic because it's rare. It tells the world that you respect yourself too much to beg for attention, and that kind of energy commands respect in return. To stay magnetic, you must nurture your own life outside of him. Pour into your passions, friendships, goals, and self-care. When your world is full and vibrant, your energy naturally becomes more attractive. He and others will feel that you're fulfilled, not waiting. There's something captivating about a woman who's focused on her peace, her glow, and her growth. It sends a silent message. I'm not chasing love. I'm attracting alignment. In the end, staying calm, confident, and magnetic means choosing peace over pressure. It's realizing that your power lies not in control, but in presence. When you embody that stillness, when you stop reacting and start radiating, everything shifts. People feel your energy before they even hear your words. That's when you become unforgettable, not because you demanded attention, but because your calm confidence spoke louder than anything else ever could. At the end of the day, what we've explored in this video is not about mind games or manipulation. It's about understanding human behavior, honoring your own worth, and navigating relationships with clarity and confidence. When a man pulls away, your instinct may be to chase, explain, or plead, but that approach rarely leads to the outcome you truly want. Instead, the real power lies in stepping back, maintaining your boundaries, and letting your energy speak for itself. Silence, when used intentionally, isn't cold or punishing. It's a tool that communicates self-respect, emotional maturity, and inner strength. The journey of ignoring him strategically is really a journey of self-discovery. You learn to separate your value from someone else's attention. You begin to realize that attraction, respect, and emotional connection are not created through desperation or chasing, but through authenticity, confidence, and grounded energy. When you stop revolving your life around someone else's actions and start focusing on your own growth, you not only reclaim control over the dynamic, but you also become magnetic in a way that words cannot convey. It's also important to understand the psychological impact your calm detachment has on him. Men often only fully recognize the significance of your presence when it's not constantly accessible. Your silence creates space for reflection, both for him and for yourself. He begins to feel the absence, reconsider his actions, and potentially reevaluate what he truly wants. And through that process, you maintain your dignity, your peace, and your boundaries, which is far more attractive than chasing ever could be. Ultimately, the key takeaway is simple. Your response to distance determines the future of the connection. Emotional composure, intentional detachment, and self-prioritization aren't just strategies, they're reflections of your self-worth. When you master these skills, you shift from being reactive to being magnetic, from anxious to grounded, and from uncertain to empowered. Your energy sets the tone for the relationship, and that energy can't be faked. It must be cultivated through self-respect and clarity. So, when he pulls away, remember this: it's not about ignoring him out of spite. It's about protecting your peace, strengthening your confidence, and allowing space for the natural dynamic to realign. Your calm, confident, and magnetic presence is what ultimately makes him recognize what he stood to lose, and more importantly, it reminds you of what you've always had: your own power. That's the real lesson, and that's the mindset that transforms not only your relationships, but your life.